starting the record. We're gonna get this going here. So first thing I'm gonna do, I don't need all these extra clips in here. I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of all these extra clips in here. So the way I can do that is I just click on the first one, I hold down Shift, I click the bottom one, and then I go over here to the clips list menu and just go to clear. Now it's gonna ask me, how do I want to clear these? I can remove them, I can move them to the trash, or I can delete them. Remove just removes them from the session. Move to trash moves them to the trash on my hard drive, and then delete actually just deletes them immediately. So the safest one is to use remove. That keeps them in the audio files folder so you can potentially get them back. If you want to delete them but you're not sure you want to delete them right now, or you're afraid you might be making a mistake, then just use move to trash. If you're sure you don't need them ever again, you can just delete them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use move to trash, and what that does is it'll move them into my trash and I can delete them later. This says it's used in a track and a plugin in the undo queue or the clipboard. That's going to happen. It's going to say that especially because it's probably used in the undo queue. If it's like something that it can undo, it's gonna give you a warning about it. So usually you can just hit yes, go ahead and get rid of it, and you're fine. So now if I go look at my trash can on my Finder here, where's my... Why are you... Oh, hold on a second. When I did that, it changed it to... Hold on. Arrangement. Wait, no. Why? Interesting. Oh, that's super annoying. Okay. So if I go look at my trash can over here, I open up my trash. Here's the trash, and you can see it's all this stuff is in here. And I haven't actually emptied my trash in a while, so I'm going to go ahead and empty the trash now. And boom. And now it's no longer in the trash. So I just wanted to do that because I want to start with a kind of a play, like a clean slate here. Okay, cool. And open this one up here. All right, cool. And so we're going to go ahead and talk about like our playlists, doing playlist stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about recording into playlists. So playlists basically allow you to record or edit multiple takes of audio on one track. You can only hear one playlist at a time. The playlist you're looking at is the one that you're hearing, or if you have like a little solo button next to it. So let me just show you what I mean by this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to record myself counting a few times. And essentially what I'm doing here is the lab number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up lab number 2. Here, and this one here, and we're just going to go through this at the same time. It says create a new session, 24-bit 44.1 stereo mix, put your name on it. Same thing we did last time. Make sure you set up everything. It does tell you to set up the Universal Audio Thunderbolt, so if you're doing this at school tomorrow, you can follow these instructions like this. For the most part, you actually don't need to go through all this stuff because we're not using microphones tomorrow. We're just going to use the mic in the computer. But what we need to do is go down here to number 9. Step number 9 is basically what you want to jump to. And then you can record enable the counting track. So we're going to make a new track in here, and we're going to go over here, and I got this track here. I'm going to call it Tony Counting. I'm going to make this nice and big so we can see it really easily. And in here, I'm going to hit the mute button, the I button, and record button here. And let's go into grid mode. And I'm going to go ahead and record enable this track. Everything should be good. We should be set up. We should be good to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to record myself. Here, let's change it to so it says peak. I'm going to hold down Command and click on this here until it says PK. And I'm going to click on it. So now we can see what the peak level is at. And then I'm going to talk in the microphone, check it out, check 1 2, check 1 2, and we've got our let's put a click track in here. Track, click, create click track. There we go. Make this one nice and small. We don't need that to be big. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and record myself counting to 12. Okay, so I'm going to hit the record key. It's number 3 on my numeric keypad. I do not need to have loop record mode turned on. I'm going to go ahead and change that to normal record mode. And I'm going to hit go, and I'm going to let it go for one measure. I'm going to start recording on the second measure. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Awesome. So we got that there. I'm going to turn this down a little bit because I don't need it to be quite so loud. And if I listen back to this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, cool. So we got that there. And 1, 2, 3, turn off the click track. 5, there we go. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Awesome. So that is the recording. I'm just going to go ahead and leave this here. I'm going to turn this one off so it doesn't keep moving around with stuff. I'm going to go ahead and leave this here like this. And I cut the beginning and the end off, so it's just not all this like silent. I mean, this is not all just like noise in the beginning and the end. You don't have to do that edit if you don't want to. You can if you want, whatever. I'm going to put it into slip mode here and just keep it in slip mode for the rest of the time because I've already set this up here to be on my grid. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to count again as a separate recording on the same track. But before I do that, I'm going to make a new playlist. So we're going to go right over here to the name of the track. I'm going to click on this little button right here. This little button here is if we mouse over it and just let it sit there for a second, it says Playlist Selector. So I'm going to go over here to my Playlist Selector. I'm going to go New, Name for New Playlist, and we're just going to call this one Counting 02. Let's call it 02 because we already did 01. I hit Go, and you notice that everything just disappeared. And the other thing you should notice is that this little thing turned blue. It was gray before, now it's blue. Okay, so we got this here, counting 1. If I go back and I select this counting 01 here, and I can call it counting.01. This one here it's got something on it. If I go down here, I click on this and I go to my playlist down here, this list. Now counting 02 has nothing on it. So let me go ahead and put something on there. I'm going to go ahead and record again. So I'm going to hit the record enable button here like this, hit record. Oops, hold on a second. Let's do this. There we go. Hit record. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Awesome. So now I can go back and I can listen back and forth between these. Let me go ahead and just get rid of all the crappy noise here in the beginning and the end. And I can listen between these. So I can select number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, or I can select number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you can hear how different they are. And I can see both of them. I can see both of them right here in this list right here. So I can switch back and forth between them right here in this list down here. Okay. So up here is our playlist like commands. We've got new, duplicate, and delete unused. New makes a new empty playlist. Duplicate will duplicate the current playlist. And delete unused allows me to delete any playlist that I'm not using in my entire session. Okay. Let's just go back here and look at the notes here. Okay, and it talks about this here. Create a new playlist by clicking on the triangle to the right of the track name, this little triangle thing, and then select new. Okay, you can also use the key command, which is control and return, which is, I don't know if that one's actually true anymore. Control return. Did that make a new playlist? It does not. It's actually control and the number above the return key. I think it used to be control return. I'll change that in the notes. But essentially, there's like a little line above the return key. Here, let me show you on my keyboard here. Oops. See this key right here? That key? If you hold control and hit that key, it'll bring up a new playlist for you. So Control, boom. And again, this is all Macintosh stuff. On the, I think it's the Windows key on the Windows machines, although I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't know what the control key equivalent is on a Windows machine. But if you hit that control key and hold down that other key, hold down control and hit the other key, it'll give you a new playlist. Now, you notice how it says .03 here, it says Tony Counting .03. Well, that .03 is because I already have a .01 and a .02 because I've already named them .01, .02, .03 like that. If you don't give it a name, it'll just continue to name it like this. And so it'll just give you different playlists. So you actually don't even have to think about it. You just hit the enter key and it'll just make a new playlist for you. So now let me go ahead and make I made my new playlist here. We're going to go ahead and record right there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the click button, hit this. Okay, there we go. Let's use another voice to record.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
It's my grumpy voice. Let's do another one. I'm going to go ahead and hit new right here. New playlist. Okay, it's gonna, I don't even have to look at this. I just know it says here's the name for it. You can name it if you want. You don't have to name it. You can just hit the enter button. It will just go to the next name. I'm gonna hit record. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Lewis, how grumpy? Yeah, pretty grumpy, right? Okay, so we got that one there. And let's do another one. I'm going to hit new again. Oops. Whoa, hit cancel because I don't want it to have that new name. Let's do it like this. New, boom, there we go. Let's go one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I did the grumpy face with it. Yeah, Lewis, it's so funny you say that because I actually always feel like I'm doing a Sesame Street sketch when I do this one, and you're the first person who's actually pointed that out, which I think is really funny. Yeah, totally. In my head, it's like a Sesame Street sketch. Okay, so here we go. Let's do one more. Oops. Let's do one more. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Actually, that makes me think I should do the count voice, right? Let's do one more with the count voice. Yeah, exactly. Okay. 1, 2, right? Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. Okay. So now we got these voices in here. We got all these different voices. I'm just going to go ahead and edit out the beginning and the end parts of all these different ones. And I can switch to these really easily by just clicking on this little arrow here and selecting which one I want to do. So I'm just going to go in here. The 7 was spot on, yeah. And we can just go through and do this, and we can see all these right here, boom, 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 like this. And you can see there's all these different recordings over here in my clips list. Grab this here. Boom, 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 boom. Like that. Boom. Okay, so we got this. And let's go into these here. Now, if I want to actually do something with these, because what I can do right now is I can just hear them all. I can just hear them. Let's go ahead and mute this.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So what if I want, though? 6, 7. Why did you turn on? Oh, I hit a key command that turned you on. Okay. So here's this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's this one. Here's another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. Here's another one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and here's the count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Okay, so we can see I've got all these in here. T says to listen to them all at once, you have to create separate audio tracks. Absolutely, you're right. I was gonna get there though. You gotta be patient. I will tell you. Yeah, I regret nothing. That's so funny, Lewis. Good call. So, but before we talk about doing them all at once, let's talk about playlists. So, hold your horses there, T. I like the questions, but I'm gonna get there. I promise you, I'm gonna get there. Okay, so, but the answer is yes. So let's say we want to have some Oscar the Grouch.
1, 2, 3.
And some high-pitched whatever, Elmo? I don't know. Is that Elmo? 1, 2, 3. I don't know what Elmo actually sounds like. And then over here, this one.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so we got the count. We got these three that we really like. What I want to do is I want to put these all together into one track. This is what we call comping. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one more new playlist here. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to change the name for this one actually. Comp, and I'm gonna give it .01 here so I can make multiple comps with different tries. So I just gave it a name, I hit OK, and it makes a new playlist. So here's what we can do. We can go over here to where it shows our track view selector, which we haven't really talked about yet so much. Now it's in waveform mode. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on it and go up here to say where it says playlist mode. Now, you'll notice in here, there's actually a lot of different modes that we've got here. We're going to learn about all of these different modes during our time at SAE, but right now we're going to talk about playlists. And what playlists does is it shows all of my recordings down here on my track. So all these recordings I just did, I can make them all bigger by holding down Option and clicking the medium key right here, and it makes them all the same size. And so now what I can do is I can actually go through and I can listen to all of these one by one. In order to do that, whatever one, so let me back that up. Whatever one is on top, that's the one we're going to hear. So the one that's on the top up here, that's the one we're going to hear. If I go over here and I have this one be the one on top by showing it up here, now that's the one we're listening to. If I click on one of these names over here, that's the one that's on top, that's the one we're going to listen to. Okay. But I'm going to put this counting comp on top because I want to comp into this. So basically, we've got this empty playlist on top, and we're going to put the other playlists into them. Okay, so let's just take a look at our notes here for a second. The way playlists work is like this. The playlists are on top of each other like this, but they're actually on the same track. Everything's on the same track, so we can only hear one at a time. If I had any effects on these, it would affect all of them together. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go down here to this number. Let's go to number 4, I guess, the one down here. The order is off. I can change the order. The order was off because I moved things around, and Pro Tools was like, wow, what are you doing? So it put the order off. But I can just drag these up and down to put them in a different order. So let's listen to number 4. To listen to a certain playlist, I hit the solo key over here on the left. 1, 2. It wasn't number. I wanted the Oscar. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to highlight the parts that I want from Oscar here. And I'm going to take this. Let me zoom in a little bit. And I can hold down Shift to adjust the end point of my selection like this. And I hit this little up arrow, and what it's going to do is it's going to move this up to the top up here. It's going to still keep it down here, but it's going to move it up top up here. So I hit this little arrow, boom, it moves it up to the top up here. Now let's get the Elmo voice, or whatever, the high-pitched voice. Let's go over here and listen to that. 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, let's use the count for that one because we like the 7 on the count, right?
5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, there we go. So we're going to go here. You can hear there's a little bit of a clip in there. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to highlight this section here, and I'm going to send it up to the top. And now we're going to go over here, and we're going to go into here, and let's listen to Elmo. 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. Boom. Send that up to the top. 9. Now, If I unsolo this, what we're going to listen to is this one up here up top. So let's listen.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, cool. Now, you can hear there's a lot of noise. Again, there's a lot of noise and different things are happening in my background. So, you know, it's going to flip over a little bit with these, but I can fix that by adjusting the level on this one a little bit, bring it down here, and let's go ahead and listen to it again. I'm going to put a fade on the beginning, and it's just too bad there's so much noise in here, but that's just my room. I obviously do not record vocals in my room. Okay, here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. And so by pulling that count down, it actually helped with the levels a bit. But you still hear that clip in there. This clip, we can never get rid of the clip. There's just no way to get rid of clipping in an audio file. There's some plugins, RX, for example, from Isotope, attempts to kind of get rid of distortion, but it doesn't do a great job. It's okay. The best way to get rid of distortion is to not have any distortion in the first place. So here's this. Let's listen to it one more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9, 10, 11, 12. Cool. And if I wanted to grab just one part over here from this last one right here, I can just do that and move that up like that. Now you notice that if I left it like this, I'd get the T from the Elmo voice here. Let's listen to this. 11, 12. Okay. 11, 12. Right? We don't want that at all. So I can move this over if I want to just cover up that. So we could do that right there. I can just move it over. Let me put a little crossfade right here. Let's listen. 11, 12. Yeah, that's such a letdown right at the end there. Let's listen to it one more time.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
9, 10, 11, 12. So boring at the end, right? But you can see how you can do this. And T says it's a good feature for me because when I'm recording my vocals, a lot of times I'll open up 10 to maybe even 15 audio tracks and record audio on each individual one and still have to go through somewhat the same editing process, but this seems much more proficient. So if you're using Logic or Pro Tools or Ableton Live now, this feature is what you want to use because you can do it the way you just described it, T, and that's the way you had to do it at one point in Ableton Live, and that's why I didn't use Ableton Live for recording vocals for the long time. I would bring everything into Pro Tools. But, yeah, you say there will be different expressions and different vocal track recordings that you pick and choose from it to make a complete final vocal mix. What you're doing is a process called comping, and this is how you do comping. Do not do comping the way you were doing it before. This is the proper way to do it from now on. So this will save you time and energy. And once you're good at this, you can actually do this really well. Now let me show you a cool shortcut with all this. What I'm going to do is we're going to put this back in waveform mode here, and I'm going to go ahead and make a new track, new audio track. I'm going to call this one Tony Vocal 02. We're going to call this one Loop, actually. Tony Vocal Loop. Hit go. So this one I'm going to mute it. I'm going to unmute my click so we can get the click. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it using loops. Okay. And this is how I do my looping. So I'm going to use a loop mode here. I'm going to go ahead and set up this preference in Pro Tools. And I hope it'll actually take effect. We'll see what happens. Because my preferences may not be saving properly. So let's see what happens. Under operation, you can do automatically create new playlists when loop recording. So here's this. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Let's see what happens. Let me just record a short one here. Let's see if this actually does what I want it to do. Okay, so I'm just going to record. Hey, I'm just doing a test right now to see if this will actually record different playlists in loop record mode. So let's see what just happened. No, it didn't. Okay. So unfortunately, my Pro Tools apparently is broken. I don't know. I think it's because I'm using the M1 chip and Pro Tools technically isn't compatible with the M1 chip. But really what should have just happened there is that it should have made new playlists for me on every new take, which is a really cool feature. Unfortunately, I can't show it to you because my Pro Tools is broken here. So unfortunately, that's something that I've been wrestling with ever since I got this M1. And I guess Avid would be like, Pro Tools is not broken, it just doesn't work with the M1. Well, fine. Everything else works about it except for this preferences. Maybe I need to trash my Pro Tools preferences. I might try that. Like while we're doing Zoom stuff, I might try that out and trash the preferences. I'm not sure if that'll work or not, but we'll see if that works. But essentially, I would like to... I can't show you what I want to show you, so... Your stream froze. Twitch, you mean? Twitch froze? Is it not... Is my Twitch not working? Okay. So if nobody else had that problem, okay, yeah. So everybody else is saying that that sounded fine. Okay, so T, that was just something on your end. All right. So, but the recording is up there, so you can watch it. But basically, it wasn't super important. What I was just saying, just my computer's broken, kind of. Not my computer. My Pro Tools doesn't work with my computer. So, all right. So we got this here. So that's all kind of described here in this. In the lesson we're going to be doing, okay? So that's what your actual lesson is for. This is actually Pro Tools Labs 2 and 3. 2 and 3, I divided them up into 2 separate labs, but we can actually work on those 2 labs together, and that's going to be your homework. So it's essentially what I just did, what I just went through, doing the comping and stuff like that. But we're going to come back to that, and I want to. There's a few more things I want to talk about before we do all that. So let's talk about these edit modes and the tools here. We did talk about these the first week, but I just want to go and talk about them in more detail here. So I'm just going to go back to these playlists. I'm going to delete this track because we don't need it. Okay. So in our playlist here, let's say that I have Tony counting 2. So I've got this one here. Let's listen to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we have this one here. And what we can do is, and this is, MJ, this is kind of going back to answer your question. So remember, we talked about our different tools we've got here. We've got our trim tool, we've got our selector tool, and we've got our grabber tool up top here. And we're going to talk about these again, but we're going to use them with the smart tool here. We're also going to do everything in slip mode right now. Remember, the different modes are up here: shuffle, spot, slip, and grid, and they have shortcut keys for them. Shuffle mode is F1, slip mode is F2, spot mode is F3, and grid mode is F4. Shuffle mode moves the clips together so there's no space between them. So, for example, if I go over here and I delete this here, in slip mode, it just works. It just hits delete and just gets rid of it, right? But if I'm in shuffle mode, I put it in shuffle mode, and I hit delete, everything moves over like that, okay? So if I go over here and I put slip mode or grid mode, whatever, it just stays, it just has an empty hole in it. But if I use shuffle mode, it actually gets rid of that empty space. And this is really good for doing audiobook editing, any kind of like editing where you're recording somebody reading something. This is a really great one to use. I recommend using shuffle mode all the time when you're recording people reading, because what you can do is, if I go through here, okay, let me just find something on the internet to read about. Something fun and silly. Let's get something about video games. Where's my video game feed in my news? Or okay, let's talk about how MacBook Pro's mini LED will help and might improve some screen stuff. So here, I'm going to read this and show you how you would use this to record an audiobook or something. So I'm going to call this one Tony Reads. And so if I'm doing this in here, I don't need the metronome. I'm going to mute that. I'm going to make this bigger. So shuffle mode is great because I can hit record and go. Let's turn on my record mode. I don't need to hear the voice here, so I'm just going to go. The 2021 MacBook Pro refresh that Apple has planned for the fall will deliver a major redesign. It'll also introduce a feature unseen previously on laptops. The new MacBook Pros will have a flatter overall design and will bring MagSafe charging and a few of the traditional ports that Apple removed a few years ago. The 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models will feature the next-gen M1X processor, but the most important upgrade concerns the screen. Apple will introduce its first mini LED laptops this year, with both devices reportedly featuring the same display tech. An Apple insider claims that the MacBooks with mini LED displays An Apple insider claims that the MacBooks with the mini LED displays will drive mini LED display adoption. This will pressure other notebook vendors to embrace the technology. Okay, cool. So, with a few little hiccups here and there, I got through it, and let's just show you how you can edit this down using shuffle mode and our smart tools. So mostly I'm going to use the selector tool with this, okay? So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the beginning here. Boom. And put a fade on this. So we go with this right here. Whoops, let me like this. Here we go. The 2021 MacBook Pro refresh that Apple has planned for the fall will deliver a major redesign. It'll also introduce a feature unseen previously on laptops. The new MacBook Pros will have a flat. Okay, so this one right here I messed up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this breath here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this part here and put it like in the same basic space as it was over there and hit delete. And now we've got a nice little cut right there. So previously on laptops. The new MacBook Pros will have a flatter overall design and will bring MagSafe charging and a few of the traditional ports that Apple removed a few years ago. The 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models will feature the next-gen M1X processor, but the most important upgrade concerns the screen. Apple will introduce its first mini LED laptops this year with... Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this right here. That, boom. Boom. Go back, listen to it. Concerns the screen. Apple will introduce its first mini LED laptops this year, with both devices reportedly featuring the same display tech. An Apple insider claims that the MacBooks with mini LED displays. So this one was giving me a lot of troubles here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that with Command E and go over here to the end. Let's see, where did I get it right? With the mini LED displays will drive mini LED display adoption. This will I think that was good there. And now, see, I've got this chunk here, so I'm going to listen to this one over here. An Apple insider claims that the MacBooks with mini LED Okay, and let's cut that. I'm going to hit delete right here. Boom. Now let's just go ahead and clean that up a little bit. An Apple insider claims that the MacBooks with the mini LED display. Okay. Books with the Okay. I'm going to get rid of this right here. There we go. Now let's listen. An Apple insider claims that the MacBooks with the mini LED displays will drive mini LED display adoption. Okay, pretty close. It's not perfect. We'd probably have to go through and re-record it a couple times, but it's good enough for the demonstration here purposes. So if we go back and listen to the whole thing, which we're not going to do, I'm just going to listen to those chunks. It'll also introduce a feature unseen previously on laptops. The new MacBook Pros will have a flatter overall design and will bring MagSafe charging and a few of the traditional ports that Apple removed a few years ago. The 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models will feature the next-gen M1X processor, but the most important upgrade concerns the screen. Apple will introduce its first mini LED laptops this year, with both devices reportedly featuring the same display tech. An Apple insider claims that the MacBooks with the mini LED displays will drive... So the only problem really is that one with the mini LED displays, and again, I could probably make it fit together a little bit better, but in general, if you're not watching where the cuts happen, you can't hear how many cuts there are. It's very hard to hear all the different cuts except for that. This one right here was kind of a bit of a problem. But it's very smooth and it's very quick to do it. So this is using shuffle mode. So I highly recommend you use shuffle mode. Have you ever been a voiceover artist? No. So glad to learn this on Pro Tools. I just kind of work every week on a different DAW. Yeah, you should be if you do this kind of work, you should be using Pro Tools. Stop using whatever DAW you're using because no other DAW has this shuffle feature. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry, that's not true. Logic does have the shuffle feature. Logic could also work really well for this kind of process. I don't know about Luna or Studio One. I've never used those DAWs. I don't know if they have this kind of feature or not. I just know that like Cubase doesn't have it. I think. I mean, Ableton Live definitely doesn't have it. Reason doesn't have it. Like a few of the other ones, but Audacity could do it, but it's basic. Yeah. I've never actually used Audacity, so yeah, I don't know about that one. But some things can do stuff like this, but the shuffle mode in Pro Tools is great. So I'm glad that you're seeing that you can do this. Yeah, because of course, yeah, I guess Aaron, you'd probably doing like podcasts and stuff like that. You might want to do some editing like this for sure. All right. I do think that if you're doing video podcasts, I think Adobe Audition does have this feature as well. Okay, so what was I saying? Yeah, so that's shuffle mode. Spot mode is like, if I click on spot mode, it pulls up the spot dialog and allows me to move this over somewhere else. So I can move it to bar 8 and hit go and just moves over. And this is good for like movie stuff because you can also click on it and you can use, instead of using bars and beats, you could use like feet and frames and stuff like that. So if somebody says, oh, there's like a explosion at 4 minutes, and I can put that and it'll move over here, all the way over here to 4 minutes, and I could do that. So that's what spot mode is for. I never really use spot mode for music production stuff, so we're not going to really talk about it too much. You might talk about it more in Mod 4 when you're talking about Foley and work like that. So we have shuffle, spot, slip, and grid. Here, slip mode is the one I use a lot, and that just allows me to move things over, like not on a grid. And then grid mode locks things into a grid. So depending on what you're doing, you'll probably use grid mode pretty often, but maybe not all the time. I would say slip and grid mode are the two more widely used modes for music production with Pro Tools. It's interesting because you can see that shuffle, spot, and slip are the first three, shuffle, slip, and spot rather. And I think grid mode was probably the least used by Pro Tools at first because people weren't producing with Pro Tools, and that's why it's the last one over there. But if you're producing in Pro Tools, you're probably going to be using slip and grid, and I wish they were on different keys on the keyboard, but they're not. They're on F2 and F4, which is kind of weird if you're doing music production. But if you're doing voiceovers, F1 is great, and then spot mode I think would be the other one if you're doing video stuff. All right, so let me get rid of this track. We don't need this one here anymore. There we go. Yeah, that's fine. Cool. All right, so those are different grid modes. Now, what we want to talk about here is our tools a little bit. So let's go over here to back into here. And remember our beef cut. Oops, get out of here. Spot mode. There we go. Our beef cut is this one right here, and it says the trim, selector, and grabber and smart tool. The trim allows you to adjust the start or end point of the clip. The selector highlights portions of the track, and the grabber grabs and moves clips and MIDI notes. So if we go back over here, and if I use my trim tool, it's gonna pull out the clip here like this. And I can pull the clip this way and this way. You'll notice, however, with the trim tool, you can only go so far with it. Okay, you can only go so far, like this. So here, the beginning and the end like that, boom, like that, okay? So that's what's going on with this. And this trim tool only allows you to go so far with this. The reason why is because we only recorded so much audio. Obviously, you can't extend the audio past what you actually recorded. So that's why it only allows us to go to this point right here. But if I have my clip right here and I move the beginning of it, I can go all the way back here, but I can't go past this point. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with here with that trim tool. The trim tool is great for that. Now there's another part of this trim tool. If we pull down, we have TCE and we have loop mode. TCE allows me to actually stretch or compress my audio file. So if I hit go, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I want this to go faster, I can use my TCE tool and move it over like this. Now let's listen to it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It sounds pretty good. I can make it even faster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We start to get weird, weird things happening with it if we start to do that. If we go too fast, we'll start to get artifacts and stuff in there. And I can also slow it down, but slowing it down is going to give us even more artifacts. 1, 2, like weird artifacts. Now, there are different ways that we can do this, but I can't show them to you because my preferences are broken. So it's just going to stay in rhythmic mode here. It's right over here in the TCE in your processing. I'm going to try to fix all this, so hopefully I can show you stuff. But for now, it's not allowing me to do it. Maybe I know why, actually. Now that I think about it, maybe I know why. So I'll try to fix it today when we're done here. Try to remind me on Zoom to fix this because I might forget. But basically, the TCE tool is under your trim tool. It stands for time compression expansion and allows you to make the samples, the audio file faster or slower. Then we also have this loop button here. And the loop button allows me to loop out my file like that and loop it out and make a loop. I never use the loop option in Pro Tools because it doesn't work the same as like Ableton Live or Logic. Actually, Logic doesn't even really work the same. I got so used to the way Ableton Live works that I'm just used to it in there. So I don't use the loop functionality in Pro Tools. In Logic, a little bit, but I just don't really use Logic that much to produce with anymore. So over here, whoops, let's go ahead. And this is the trim, the selector tool. The selector tool just allows you to select certain parts of the clip. But what's cool about the selector tool is if I select something and I cut it, let's cut it using Command E to cut. That's a really important shortcut is Command E. You should definitely write that down. Command E to cut your clip or separate the clip is the official way that it's described. You can see here I've got two separated clips now. Let's put another cut right here. Command E to separate it. Now, if I use my selector tool, I can double click and it will select the entire clip. If I delete this, now it'll select this clip, it'll select this clip, but I can also select the space in the middle here. I can select the space in the middle and it'll select that entire empty space there. Okay, so we got this right here, here, boom, boom, boom. Okay, and this part here, it allows us to, when we use the selector tool, if you double click, it allows us to select either the empty space or the clip itself. If I triple click, it allows me to select the entire track. 1, 2, 3, like that, boom, there we go. And it selects everything on the entire track. So that's what we do there. So we got that. And that works real nicely like that. Okay, that's our selector tool. And then the grabber tool allows me to grab things and move it around like that. Now we can use the selector tool and the grabber tool in conjunction. We can use the selector tool and the grabber tool in conjunction with each other. And these also have shortcuts. This is F6 for the trim tool, the F7 for the selector tool, and F8 for the grabber tool. And if I use the selector tool, F7, and I grab this, and I use Command E to cut it, then I can use F8 to move it around, and it works really well. But we can actually do it even faster by using different tools under the grabber tool. So here, we have separation, we have object tool. Now the object tool I'm going to talk about first. What this does is it allows me to just grab one thing, hold down shift and grab another one, and anything else will not get grabbed. So for example, if I, here we go, like this, I grabbed this one and this one, hold down shift, and now I can just move those two and it left this original one here. That's because I'm using the object tool. With Pro Tools, it doesn't allow you to select individual clips without using that object tool. Like other programs, if you hold down shift, here, let me just go ahead and duplicate, let me go ahead and duplicate this. If you hold down shift and you select everything, like you select the first and the last clips, it'll select everything in the middle. With other programs, if you hold down command and you click the last one, it'll just highlight the first and the last ones. So whatever you have command held down on, it'll highlight that one. With Pro Tools, you have to use the object tool for that. So I click on this, I hold down shift, and I can select different ones in there. So it allows me to select different ones. I think that Pro Tools has it set up like this so you don't accidentally like deselect things or select things. I think. I'm not sure why they didn't just use the command key, but they didn't. Now, the other one we want to talk about here, though, the most important one, I don't really use the object tool so much. When you have to use it, you have to use it, but I don't really use it that much. The one we want to really talk about here is the separation tool. And the separation tool works great when you're using the smart tool. So if I turn on the smart tool, we can pull these all together. So I can use let's say I just want to grab this one counting bit, number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I grab this and I move down here and you can see my hand has a little scissors on it. So I grab it and I move it over like this, boom. Boom, like that, boom. And we move that over like that. So now I can grab it and move it out without having to change my tools, without having to use any kind of key commands or anything like that. Move that out. If I hold down Option, like that, boom. Okay. So yeah, this is really cool. I agree with you, T. And the other part about, you're talking about, you don't like that about the command key thing and the separation, the object tool. I agree with you there too. I also don't like that, but that's how Pro Tools works. So we've got the grabber tool, we've got all these tools here, and that's really what you need to do is you need to kind of like just practice using these things. Now, the other thing here is going back to what MJ asked earlier is how do you do the fades? Well, the way I do the fades most of the time is I'll use my smart tool and up in the corner you just click and drag and it puts a fade in there. And it puts a fade right over there, boom. Okay, so we got that. So now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. Okay, so we've got that there, and it's this just an easier way to work using these tools. So if you get used to using the smart tool and how everything works with the smart tool, it'll be much better for your kind of how you work and your speed and your efficiency. All right, cool. So that's that part right there. And in the notes, it just kind of talks about all these different tools and stuff. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about here is the zoom tool, and then we're going to stop for the day because I don't really want to get into the strip silence because it's a little bit too far. We could talk about strip silence tomorrow, actually, at school. If you want to watch about strip silence, I definitely have videos up on my YouTube channel about strip silence, and you can watch those videos if you want to learn about it today. But let's talk about the zoom tool here. The zoom tool has two different tools, and basically it's this one right here. And this zoom tool, it's F5. And it allows me to just click and drag over anything, and I can zoom into that. There we go, boom. And if I just click in one place, it'll zoom into wherever the cursor is. If I hold down Option and zoom, it'll zoom out. That's the main thing you need to know about the zoom tool. It lets me zoom in on stuff or zoom out. Now, if I'm using let's say I'm working on some stuff and I want to zoom in, I want to just highlight this, I want to zoom into this one part. What I usually do is I usually just use command brackets and it zooms in on that part. But if I want to use my zoom tool, what I can do is I can just hit F5, zoom once, and go in, and then switch back to my tools, like really quick by hitting a couple of tools. But there's a way you can do it even quicker, which is the single zoom. If I hold down on this, the single zoom here is on the bottom, and it's got the little arrow next to it. What the single zoom does is it zooms once, and then goes back to your previous tool that you had selected. So right now, I've got my smart tool selected. I've got single zoom turned on. I'm going to turn it on. Boom. I'm going to hit zoom. And now it zooms once and it goes back to my smart tool without me hitting anything. It's actually a really cool way to work. It allows you to zoom real quick and then just get back to work. So I really like that a lot. But what I usually use these days is I just use my command brackets keys instead of using the zoom tool. But the zoom tool is great. I used to use it all the time. So that's the zoom tool. And then the last couple tools here we've got the scrubber tool. 4, 5. Yeah. And it lets me scrub through the audience. Right? It's I don't really ever use it. It's I think a holdover from scrubbing stuff. Like audio engineers used to need to scrub stuff. Like other DAWs don't really have this feature. Pro Tools is the only one that really has it. Maybe Logic, I don't remember. But we don't really use it for anything. And the final tool here is the pencil tool. This is the draw tool here, and we have different types of drawing. This is really, we're going to use this for when we talk about automation. Okay, so there we go. Okay, cool. So that's basically everything we need to talk about right now. And what I want to do is I'm going to pause the recording.